Hello to the chicas and the chicas. Today's video is dedicated to the legendary Chess on Earth. This is a username on Chess, maybe on chess.com as well, and of course on Twitch. This lovely gentleman is an absolute legend, and that's where I'm gonna cut it. Let's leave a little bit of mystery there. Today on the menu is going to be a no-die classic, and we are going to go quite far back in chess history, and we are going to travel to the exotic Cuba, where the legend himself, Capablanca Jose Raul Igrao Pera, was born, and it is going to be a famous Capablanca game we are going to go through. Just a little bit more before I get into it. I have already been critiqued / criticized for my long intros. Can't resist. Capablanca generally is a dude I don't recommend to study before you reach a certain level, which certain level I think should be 1800 over the board at least, because his play is so difficult to imitate and emulate and understand in many cases. But today, because of the positional mastery and the subtle maneuver style he was known for, but today I'm gonna show you a game by Capablanca where he actually showcases all the greatest assets, what I really want any club player to completely nail in every single game. And so in today's game, Capablanca versus Charles Jaffe, we are going to see a very different Capablanca from the usual one. This is going to be aggressive, attacking, basically playing the right chess. C4. I don't know if this is correct. I got it off of chessgames.com. I have seen this game elsewhere where it was published as C4, C6, Knight C3, E6, the proper Meran move order. I'm not sure of the historical accuracy here. Maybe I'm just crazy and that is how it went. Nonetheless, we are in Meran main line land. Bishop D6. Nowadays, pretty much everyone plays the DC variations with a subsequent B5. That is big theory. Bishop D6 is not bad either, but white gets a very easy move and an easy plan. And this is typically, by the way, the position, or rather the concept, where a lot of club level players fail big time with playing their next move. Because as far as I'm concerned, there is only one acceptable move next, as long as we play proper principled chess. And that move is none other than E4. And if you play anything other than that, in my book, we are kind of bending the rules already a little bit. Queen E2 preparing E4 is an extremely common symptom. Playing Rook E1 preparing E4 again is a common symptom. In general, a lot of players play preparatory moves to get ready for E4, which of course was fully ready, good to go. Trade, Knight F6 and Bishop C2. It's a very important move to pull the bishop all the way back here. Once again, there is a fairly big temptation here to, instead of pulling the bishop back, create a pin. I very strongly dislike this move, because now after h6 we are forced to capture, and I value our two bishops higher than going in for a trade like that. Bishop h4 would lose one of the bishops due to the fact that now the pin has been broken. Hence Bishop C2, and the reason why we go to C2 and not to D3, twofold. A, it keeps the queen's vision clearer toward D4 and on the D file, but far more importantly than that, the secondary, which now turns into the main reason behind Bishop C2, is because it allows us to play Queen D3 and set up this gorgeous battery against H7. Now that then would be followed up by Bishop G5, eliminating the defender and going in for mate. Like, that is the kind of foresight and vision that I would like to see from, you know, an improving club level player, 16, 17, 18, 1900 and up. That, yeah, Bishop C2, obviously we are going there, making way for Queen D3, then planning on Bishop G5, and this is a very healthy position. H6 was played, not good at all, just like all the time when we play dog ears, this is bad. Black needed to counterattack immediately in the center with c5. And a very peculiar situation would have arisen here after bishop g5, h6, bishop back, cd4, and queen d3, when white is very adamant on delivering this checkmate on h7. And here there is a shocking defensive move. I'm very curious to see if you guys can find it. Maybe I shouldn't call it shocking, but a surprising one. Surprising in the sense that one would assume that there is no way it's good enough, but yes it is. So please feel free to pause the video if you want to find the best defensive measure for black. I'm gonna reveal it now. It is rook e8, and all of a sudden it turns out that takes is actually a bad move, because this is only a check and there is nothing more to it. And in fact now black is clearly better because of the extra pawn, the two bishops, and white has no ongoing attack. Much better is to maintain the status quo and just increase the quality of pieces with rook e1, trying to create a pin on the e-file and basically saying that, well, what is your next move, dude? But this is quite complex indeed. I think that maybe after c5 white might need to adjust their plans, although the engine does like this bishop g5 line for sure. Anyway, h6 was played. And Capablanca immediately adjusts here, and I really love the way how he's playing it, although I must admit that it doesn't match with the engine's favorite moves, but we don't care about that because we are here to admire the genius and his crystal clear play. So this is what he looks at here. He goes, okay, bishop g5 has been cut out, bishop f4 has never been on, bishop e3 is ridiculous. In general, it's pretty awkward to put the bishop in between these two pawns, plus I'm exposing the bishop to knight g4. d2 looks like really bad, although I must say bishop d2 actually does look very good if you have the vision of putting it on c3 against pretty much everything next move. Capablanca instead went with b3 and bishop b2. I suppose it sort of made this pawn formation somewhat stronger as well. And black played b6. For the second time, black is missing the board. And this is also very instructive, by the way, that there is no time for mucking around. It's do or die. That's it. Like, break the center right now, create some tension, allow black to create a couple of opportunities for trades, or else it's gonna get very ugly. And watch how ugly it gets. Bishop b2, c5 was necessary here too, bishop d3 instead, queen d3, and lo and behold, we find ourselves in a situation where c5 is now too little, too late. Pause the video if you would like to find the reason why c5 is a really unplayable move at this point. I'm gonna give it away now. The correct answer is d5. The wrong answer is dc. And the reason for that is because now after bishop c5, we don't have time to deliver the capture and mate combo, because when we take on f6, there is the in-between capture on d3. And in fact, we have gone from much better to much worse. Now two bishops, slicing, dicing. Yeah, black is clearly better here. Whereas d5 has created now the mate threat of bishop f6, queen h7, and after rook e1, rook 8, excuse me, rook e1, now the black pawn is glued to e6. I can never take, because that would open up the e-file, allowing this checkmate to happen now. So Jaffe just mucked around too long with developing every single piece, ignoring the central break, and now it's too little too late. g6 was played, and at this point I really love, absolutely love the decision that was made by Capablanca. It's a tiny detail, but I like the perfectionism behind what he did. He played a certain rook move. Pause the video, try to figure out which rook went where. I'm gonna reveal the secret. Obviously, it's a rook move to e1, because that's gonna create a rook takes e6 threat, potentially with picking of g6. But which rook? Well, friends, perhaps surprisingly for you, it was this rook. Now, what are the reasons behind this rook and not the other one? Because it makes you feel so jammed in with the F rook. Well, the reason is the following. There will be certain scenarios, including the game, where the bishop is going to return to c1 to prove itself far more useful on this diagonal than on the long diagonal. Now, if we want to do that, then having this rook on e1 is not really good looking idea, because we are going to be disconnected as far as the rooks are concerned. And so hence rook ae1 was played, knight h5 was played in response. Now, why is rook takes e6 a tremendous blunder here? You have 5 seconds to answer this question. No joke. That's a 5-second question. So the answer to that is that rook e6 loses to knight f4, which is a marvelous freeway fork. Hits this, and defends g6, which is just as important. Ironically, even here, rook takes d6 is fine. So it's not quite losing for white, but it's nowhere near as good as it could have been. My favorite move in the position is knight e5, adding more fuel to the fire. Capablanca played bishop c1. Quick question. What would you do against knight f4? Pause the video, please, because I'm going to give it away momentarily. So knight f4 would be met again by a very clever tactic, which the engine doesn't like. I do takes, and rook takes e6. And white is winning at least a pawn. Funnily enough, the engine prefers queen d2, which is utterly ugly. But I understand it. It wants to play knight e5, disconnecting bishop and knight, and then pick off h6. I guess. Okay, fair enough. I would take on f4 and e6. It's way too dicey not to. King g7 was played. Pause the video again if you want. Let's see if you can come up with the goods. Of course you did. That was super duper easy. Rook takes e6. Do you see how marvelously crystal clear white's plays? Like, they went like, from this point on, h6, we went like, okay, bishop can't go here, so let's put it on the long diagonal. Let's set up the mate thread, d5, good to go. They kind of stopped it. Rook e1, last boy joining the party, or the last invitee. Also allowing the bishop retreat to c1 to attack on the king side. Bishop dropped back, and after king g7, now the fully deployed white army just crashes, absolutely crashes through with rook takes e6. Knight f6 was played, and I'm very, very, very curious what you would play here for white. And hand on heart, pause the video if you need to. And I'll tell you why I asked this question. Because the vast majority of players here would be like, ooh, okay, I won a pawn, let's go back. And whilst there is nothing wrong with this move, in my book, it's completely played in the worst spirit we can play. Because in my book, the e6 rook is an asset in the attack. So withdrawing it to e2 is the equivalent of playing queen d1 in this position. Like, why would you go back? Like, this puts so much pressure on. What we want to do is to add even more so that we can utilize the rook and the additional firepower. So what does Capablanca do? Knight e5, friends. That is the way to go. And now if the bishop takes, then you can pull the rook back. That's fine. But any other case, such as c5, now comes the final big tactic. Once again, pause the video if you want to work it out yourself. Very, very lovely finish. I'm going to reveal it now. So Capablanca cashed in on the abundance of tactical motifs, and you know, the geometry of the position is just so rich that like every which way we go, there will be a tactical motif. Of course, by far my favorite is knight takes f7 here. And that was the point when Jaffe decided to throw in the towel. Of course, the knight can't be captured due to the checkmate. Now, there is one variation that I would like to offer to those who enjoy a challenging calculating exercise. and that is to try to find a forced win. And by forced, I don't necessarily mean all moves checks, but I do mean that that line definitely wins no matter what black does from this position with white. I had a bit of a fun with this actually. It's nowhere near as apparent as you would think. So pause the video if you would like to do the exercise. I think it's a brilliant one. I'm going to reveal the answer now. So the cleanest, not the cleanest, the most childish win is bishop takes h6 check, forcing the king back to h8, and then you take g6, and then you start taking timber. All the wood comes off, you take on f8. I can't even retake, by the way, because now it's gonna be a very, very quick Matutsky with bishop g5. This is on. Let's not go there. So this is the basic win. But the beautiful win is this. Queen takes g6, check, king g8, and actually, it's really remarkable, but queen g6 check and then bishop h6 is not gonna cut it, because now black has queen e7, right? And although white is winning completely here, even after a quiet move like rook d1, this doesn't feel satisfying enough. However, we notice that if the queen weren't on g6, this would be a ripper of a position, because then a knight g6 check would be pending. So how do we get there? I'll show you. Check, check. No, the knight can't block because of mate. King here, check. King h8, check. And now we managed to zigzag the queen all the way out to h4, which is a very counterintuitive maneuver, by the way. You would want to rather zigzag up. And after king g8, if now we play bishop h6, we do have the genuine mate threat with queen g5, queen g7. And queen on the 7th is now not going to cut it, because we just go check. Or check on g5, really, I don't think it would make a big difference. And knight g6 check is going to slice and dice. Game over. Maybe queen c7 is a tad better, but again, here comes the mating idea. Queen g5 check, king h8, knight g6 check. And now the double checkerino is going to completely decide the game. Obviously, king h7 is a mate instantly like this. Not with the queen, bishop. The king g8 mate is significantly longer. Knight takes f8, king f7, queen g7. And yeah, the engine he claims a mate in 10. So I will be nice and play it out for you. But after knight e6, I think we can. Actually, no, I will stop here. I'm not going to bother you with another 8 moves. Everything came off. And the attack just breaks through with elementary power. So that was it. This final zigzag check was something that I don't think I've ever seen. Like, you often see that we try to zigzag the queen up to be close to the target, but zigzagging out like this, only to make way for the bishop, is something quite unique. And I really do like it a lot. And once again, the threat of check and checkmate is just too rough. Is just too rough to handle. Let's try another move, knight e8, queen g4 check, and again knight g6 check with the subsequent discovered checks is definitely going to lead to a checkmate again. Let's c1, king g8, knight takes f8, king back check, king g8, and knight e5. Check that out. King h8, knight f7, Matutsky. Very, very nice. Let's finish on this one, guys. That was an absolute carnage city by the Cuban. A really nice attack in this Meran structure. But once again, the reason why I really wanted to pass this game on to you, because it does demonstrate and showcase really healthy early, late opening, early middle game play, purposeful development, keeping an eye on the target, putting every single piece on best possible squares. Just so yummo. So that was, ladies and gentlemen, Capablanca Jaffe for you in the latest episode of No Die Classics. And on that note, we are going to call it a day. Please don't forget to like, to sub, to comment. Please comment down below, and super thank me if you can. And we will be back with the next suit. Thanks for watching.